I wasn't even added to the stage. How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? We are live on YouTube, RSF 49ers Live. We're live on Instagram. It's Victory Monday. You know what day it is? It's Victory Monday. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. It's Victory Monday. Whether you like it or not, you better like it. Make sure you hit that like button on the YouTube if you're there. Check it out, guys. The 49ers, they won a football game yesterday. So it's good news. But I know there's a lot of people that are upset about the win and da-da-da. They should have. Doesn't matter. You win the game. We talked about it this morning. As long as you win the game, that's great. Like, yes, there's things they can fix. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about the updates. Kyle Shanahan spoke with the media today, and he gave them a little rundown of injuries. George Kittle was the big injury of the day. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a big injury, but it's the big update of the day. He has a hamstring irritation. They're going to monitor him through the week. I mean, he plays tough. He plays physical. You know, George Kittle's the man. He's got a little hamstring irritation. They're going to reevaluate him Wednesday. Hopefully he's good to go. We need George Kittle. 7 touchdowns in 7 games. This guy cannot miss any time for the 49ers. They need this guy. So he is dealing with the hamstring issue. Renardo Green, he has a toe injury. He sprained his toe yesterday. He missed part of that second half of that game. As you know, Rock Ya-Sin came in. So he's day-to-day. They'll evaluate him. And then you have Mitch Wishnowsky. His back flared up. Our punt, of course, we got another kicker issue. Our punter, Mitch Wishnowsky, his back flared up, and now he's going to seek some treatment options. So those are kind of big things to me. If your kicker, your punter is dealing with some back issues, and we already know about the other kicker that we have, Jake Moody. There was a lot going on with Jake Moody. According to Kyle Shanahan, they squashed the beef. Kyle talked about everything and about the situation. So he discussed, his thoughts. He said he looked at it. At first, he didn't think he had to really address it, but then he looked at it again, and he felt that Tabor Pepper overreacted. He overreacted. Like, he says he appreciates the energy. Like, yeah, he's trying to stick up for his guy, but at the same time, he overreacted. Debo was just trying to tell him to lock in. As a leader, as a captain, that's okay. Tell the guy to lock in. And he was trying to motivate him. And at the end of the day, they said it's all, water under the bridge. They squashed the beef. But regardless of that situation, Jake Moody needs to make those field goals. And now we have to wait and see how the rest of the week goes. But the good news is the 49ers won a football game yesterday. It was not a pretty game. It was a very ugly game. And at the end of the day, hey, 49ers live to see another day tonight. Big game, Dolphins, Rams. We're all going to be watching this one because we need to see the Rams lose the game. But I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to beat them. They've been a ragtag team. They just haven't played great this season. I expect the Rams to win, but I hope the Dolphins can beat them because the 49ers need to stay at the area they're at. 5-4 right now, NFC West. It's tough division overall. If the Rams win, they're 5-4. The 49ers slide to third place. So we're doing it, baby. Oh, you can't hear me on Instagram. Well, unfortunate there. We'll go on YouTube here, and like I said, we will. Let's see. Let's take a look at the comments. Sorry, I was trying to stream on both, but sometimes when I do that, I think because I had the StreamYard up, it causes the microphone to mix up on Instagram. So sorry about that. I guess we're good to go now. Let's see. Appreciate you, 49ers Red Zone. Thank you. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Just win, baby. April says, I'd take an ugly victory over a well-played loss any day. Absolutely. At the end of the day, the 49ers getting the win is what we wanted. However they get there, it doesn't matter because you want to count the dubs at the end of the season. When the season's over and you look back at the year, you want to make sure like you have more wins than losses and you make it to the playoffs. If you don't, you're going to be scratching your head. Where did we go wrong? You lose a game like this, that's where you go wrong. You lose a game like Arizona, you lose a game like the Rams, they add up. So the 49ers absolutely had to win this one. And you know what? People got to realize the Buccaneers are a good team, man. They went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs on Monday night, almost beat them. They don't have Mike Evans. They don't have Chris Godwin. They have a good D-line. They have a good O-line. I feel like the 49ers are a team that, they're good, but the Buccaneers are also good, and they lost a lot of close games here and there. You take away 2 games to the Falcons, and it's a different team. So I think the Bucs was a tough game. And also traveling across from the West Coast all the way down to Florida, that's a tough travel. Early game, it's just a recipe for disaster sometimes. It's tough for a West Coast team. to play on the other side of the country. So Niners getting the win is, to me, it's great. We're celebrating Victory Monday. I'm happier that we won. I know it was ugly. Than had we lost that game, we'd be so pissed. I wouldn't even be posting much content today. So Brock Purdy was a savior yesterday, says David. Gerardo says, I was happy for Ricky Purcell's first touchdown. Yeah, we all were. I was so happy to see him. And the team kind of rallies around him. You know, one thing we talked about this morning is how the chemistry, the like motivation, the camaraderie is enhanced because of Ricky Purcell. Like the teams absolutely love this guy. People love Ricky Purcell on the team because it's like if Ricky's out there and he's practicing and he's trying his head out, you know, his heart out, he's playing so good. People are like, man, he went through so much stuff. He could be like depressed. He could be mentally done, but he's not. He's out there living his dream, living his life. And the 49ers know that, you know what, this guy is out there happy to be alive and he's trying to give it all. So I think it really rubs off on the rest of this team. And then also Christian McCaffrey back was chef's kiss, man. I love to see CMC. He got a pretty good, you know, workload, 85% of the snaps. He was CMC. I know a lot of people are upset, but it's hard not to give him the ball. It's hard not to give him the snaps, you know, and he's out there. You utilize him in the passing game, and then you see him. He'll run a route. Even if he doesn't get the ball, it opened up Jennings so much. Juwan Jennings, shout out to Juwan Jennings, the new wide receiver one, the X receiver, took a big role last night. And, you know, you could see it really opened it up for him having Christian McCaffrey. Same thing with Ricky Purcell. It opened him up because all those lanes were free. You know, you had people shadowing Christian McCaffrey and Debo for that matter. And then, boom, you have like a nickel corner on Juwan Jennings. That's a mismatch. He's going to beat him every time. So good to see CMC back in the offense. I know a lot of people want to see Mason and Garendo, but CMC is a tough guy not to give the ball to. He's so good. And also, he's the type of guy that doesn't want to be out of the game. He wants the ball in his hands. He's probably telling Kyle, give me the ball. I feel great. I mean, he's your offensive player of the year. This is why you grabbed him. This is what he does to the offense. He changes it. So great to see him back. And apparently, according to Kyle Shanahan, there was no issues. He's not on the injury report. He had no setbacks. He played his first game, and we didn't even mention him on the injury report. So good stuff, man. An ugly win's better than a pretty loss. Yeah. I'm about to go celebrate by watching the game again. Watching it yesterday was too stressful. It's going to be stressful on second watch. I watched it, but knowing what happens, a little less stressful for sure, April. Rookie Purcell, he's the man. Ricky Purcell has a bright future ahead of him. I agree. Grumpy says, honest question, in need of an honest answer. How do you think this 49er team could go this year? Honest answer, though. I want to say Super Bowl. I want to say they'll go all the way, but it's a tough team. They've been inconsistent, and special teams has been an absolute Achilles heel. They have to be better at special teams. I know we signed a player this morning. We talked about him, Nick McLeod. He's a special teams like ace. He's a really good special team, but is he going to make a difference? You know, the coaching in special teams has been an absolute nightmare, a train wreck. You know, every week there's an issue. The kicker, imagine they get to a playoff game and they miss a game-winning kicker. Like that is reality. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you got to be positive. You got to back up Jake Moody. Listen, I back up all the players, but Jake Moody is a liability right now. He was kicking with a sprained ankle. I mean, I know he was ready to go in the game and he probably felt better. He did all his rehab. Maybe he should have done a little bit more rehab, because if this is the reality and he's not 100%, we're going to have, you know, another different kicker who may not be able to make those kicks. And it's a situation. Fumbles on the return. So I want to say they could win a Super Bowl. They have the talent. They have Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, you know, Brock Purdy's fantastic, Trent Williams, Fred Warner. Like, they have a talent. They can beat anybody in the NFC if everything's, you know, working right. But just their inconsistencies, the special teams, run defense isn't what it was. They're going up against some teams that are going to be really tough to beat in the playoffs. If the 49ers can get to the playoffs, first and foremost, this NFC West is going to be a dogfight. I think they have to win 10 or 11 games to get into the playoffs, and then it's going to be a dogfight from there. I'm going to be tired. I honestly think right now, if I had to bet, if I had to tell you who's in the Super Bowl, it's the Lions. And I'm not going to sit here and be a homer and say, you know what, 49ers are going to make Super Bowl. I want them to. We all want them to. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl and make it there. I pray they do. But honestly, if you want an honest answer right now, if you put the 49ers in the playoffs right now and they go up against all these teams, they're going to lose to someone like the Lions, because they are going to be able to take care of all the mismatches and, all the issues. Their special teams is better. They're a good team. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions yesterday. 5 interceptions. And they won the game. Their kicker's undrafted. Brock Purdy is great, but he's got a lot of issues on his team. It's not just one guy. There's a lot of issues on this team. So, honestly, I think they can win it, but it's going to be a very tough climb to make. It's not going to be easy, but the 49ers have done it many times. They're a team that has made it to the NFC Championship after starting 3-4. They've won 9 in a row before. They've won a lot of games down the second half of the season. They're 17-2 after the bye week in the regular season since 2022. This is a team that could do it, but there's some really good teams in the NFC. I'm not worried about the Eagles. The Niners can beat the Eagles. I like the Commanders, but I think the Niners, if they play them in the playoffs, will beat them just because of the inexperience of Jaden Daniels. He's a fantastic player, but you've seen what the Commanders have done against winning teams. They haven't beat a single winning team. All their wins have come across, 0 or under 500 teams, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to beat the shitty teams, but can you beat a good team? And that's an issue for the Commanders. And I think the Commanders will be good for a couple of years down the line. I think they're going to be a solid team. I love JD5. I think he's a great quarterback, but inexperience will do him in the playoffs. So I think if the 49ers matched up against them, that's great for them. Lions, I don't know. The Lions had the Niners beat, but, I mean, they blew it. They choked. Will they choke it the second time in a row? I don't know. It's happened before. Who else? Packers, I think they're good. I think Jordan Love is good. He's not great. That defense, though, that Packers defense is unbelievable. That's going to be a hell of a game. That, to me, is the game that's going to really tell me where the 49ers are. Are they for real? They could go into Lambeau and beat the Packers, which they usually do. I think that tells me a lot of what this 49ers team is made of. If they go into Lambeau and they shit the bed, it's probably a wild card team at best. But we'll see. It's a tough season. That's a great question, and I hope you appreciated the honest answer. I do think they can win it all, but they got to fix some things. Special teams, run defense. It's not going to be easy. It's not a walk in the park. Minnesota's good too. They already beat the Niners, but how can Sam Darnold play in the playoffs? That's a good question. What about Minnesota? I think they're a good team. Jettas, that defense is unbelievable. Defense wins championships in the playoffs. A good defense like that will probably beat a lot of teams, slow a lot of teams down. But Sam Darnold in the playoffs, he's never done it. Where is Sam Darnold going to be in the playoffs? Where's his head going to be? How good is he going to be in the playoffs? I mean, he's having a great season. No, you can't even sit there and lie about it. Sam Darnold has been playing really good. First quarter of the season, he was probably MVP. But, last couple of weeks, he's been a little up and down. But will Sam Darnold be Sam Darnold, or will he be Sam Montana in the playoffs? We'll see. That's a good question. That's going to be fun down the stretch. Abel says, Victory Monday. I wore my faithful shirt at work today. I'm glad you did, Abel. I'm glad you got to wear your faithful shirt. Kenneth says, they cannot beat the Eagles, Niners. We haven't beat a good team. I think the Bucs are a good team. Their record doesn't show that, but honestly, I think the Bucs are a good team. Oh man, my phone's blown up. Yeah, so I think the Bucs are good, but yeah, they're not a great team. The 49ers definitely need to get some better wins. They need to get some high quality wins. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you're wrong. You're probably absolutely right. The 49ers haven't beat a really good team. They've beaten some average teams. They've beaten some below average teams, the Jets, right? The Patriots. So definitely you got to win those games. They haven't beat really, really good teams. They need a statement game. I think this week against the Seahawks, they need to go out there and just blow them out the water. Seahawks will be coming off the bye week. So Niners going to have to play a team that's well-rested and angry and hungry. So we'll see. They got some big games. The Bills, the Packers, those are big games against really good teams. The Rams, they're a pretty good team. And then the Cardinals down the end of the season. And then the Lions, of course. Niners got to win those games. And you're right. They got to start beating some really good teams. But they also have to make sure they beat the teams that aren't good. So Kenneth said they didn't have any of their receivers. Yeah, that's true. But you know what? It didn't stop them from almost beating the Chiefs. The Bucs are a good team. But you're right. They are banged up. They're a tough team. You got to give Baker Mayfield a lot of credit. I give Baker a lot of credit. He's earned a lot of my respect this season. In terms of, where I rate him in terms of quarterback. I mean, he made some big plays. He made some big time throws at the end, but just wasn't enough. And you're right. Because of that, lack of their, star players, it probably caught up with them at the end. But you got to give credit to the 49ers defense. They made some big plays down the stretch. What's his name? Evan Anderson made one of the bigger plays. Rock Ya-Sin made a big play in the goal line and, prevented them from scoring a touchdown. Had the Buccaneers scored a touchdown at the end, that last minute, Niners probably don't win. Maybe, because Brock was driving. Brock let him down the field. But shout out to Juwan Jennings, who put them in a perfect position for Jake Moody to barely make that final. If Juwan Jennings doesn't get those extra yards, I don't think Jake Moody makes that game winner. So, yeah, I used to not like Baker. I used to, have a lot of, I wouldn't say ill will. I used to have a lot of negative takes on Baker. I used to say a lot of bad things about Baker, but he's really matured. He's really been a gunslinger. I think Baker's been a solid quarterback for the last 2 years. So shout out to Baker, man. Good for him. Kenneth says we need the Rams to lose tonight. Absolutely. Niners need to see the Rams take an L tonight. Ian says no new injuries is a plus. I mean, yeah, there was a few minor ones. Kittle, right? We talked about that hamstring, but that's nothing new, right? He'll probably be able to play through the hamstring issue. We'll see. Mitch Wishnowsky, he's got a back injury. We'll see how that one goes. And Renardo Green, he's got a toe sprain, but I'm pretty sure Renardo Green will be able to play this week. I'm not too worried about Renardo, but they did sign some cornerbacks. Nick McLeod, he's depth piece. Rock Ya-Sin, they got Diamador Lenore. Mooney Ward could come back. We'll see how that goes. But overall, the 49ers, they have some really good depth at corner. So it's a plus, this year, where in years past, if a cornerback got hurt, you're like, oh, God, what is going to happen? Drake Kirkpatrick, that was a headache. The 49ers went through some years where cornerback was, oh, man, Rashard Robinson. Woo! Name them. Drop some names. They had some really horrible cornerbacks. I mean, it was a nightmare. Oh, my God. It was so bad watching these cornerbacks play. And it was like, oh, my God, this is a starter. It was brutal. So McLeod for special teams. Yep, that's probably what's going to happen, Ian. Pooney has been great. Yeah, he hasn't let up a sack all year. This guy's a gem, unbelievable gem. The 49ers rookie class is top tier. Dominic Pooney's been unbelievable. Renardo Green, Malik Mustafa's been out there doing some things. And now Ricky Pearsall, these last couple of weeks, every week he gets better and better and better. Isaac Guerrero, this guy has had some big moments this year. It's rookie class, man. And you're right. Dominic Pooney deserves a lot of praise. He was the highest graded player by the 49ers this week. The highest graded 49ers player on offense and defense. No matter what, he was the highest graded player on the 49ers via PFF. And he hasn't allowed a sack at all this year. Not a single sack, man. So Josh Norman. Yeah, you remember that one? That's the name. Josh Norman. That man needs to get called for a penalty almost every play. I remember that guy. People loved him. People loved him because he got the forced fumbles, but he was such a liability in coverage. So, Christine says, my heart breaks for Moody. Ooh, I don't know. Where do you guys sit on this? Some people are heartbroken over Moody, or they're sad for him because he's been getting a lot of hatred. It's tough. A kicker is a tough position because you have one job to make those kicks. If you don't make them, you're going to get roasted by everybody, and they're going to be pissed because you're the reason they lost, right? Is what the consensus is. I mean, yeah, you have to you have to score touchdowns. You have to move the ball. You have to not turn the ball over. But if you're in a position where all you got to do is make a kick, you got to make that kick. You're getting paid money to make that kick. That's your job. And the unfortunate part for Jake Moody is he has a lot of pressure on his shoulders because they drafted him in the 3rd round, which I always said was going to happen. And I was so against the draft pick because I was like, this is a lot of pressure on the guy. Not that I didn't like him. I loved him coming out of college. I watched him a lot. I was like, okay, I'm a big Jake Moody guy because I like Michigan. I used to watch him all the time. Jim Harbaugh was there, and it was amazing. And I was like, okay, Moody's my guy. But drafting a kicker that high is just too much expectations, too much stress. It's too much stress, ladies and gentlemen. And it caught up with him. And I know it's unfortunate. I don't know, man. I feel tough because, yeah, you got to make those kicks. And maybe he wasn't ready on Monday. But, man, people are relentless. Like, you can tell him to lock in. Like Debo said, yo, lock in. But I wouldn't send death threats and hate messages like you're a piece of trash. But there are people that do that. And it's like, wow. But people get a little emotional, get upset that your kicker is selling the game. Peter says, make the kicks or get smacked by Debo. Christine said Moody Ward. Okay, yeah, definitely not. I thought you meant Jake Moody. So there's no sorrow for Jake Moody. But yeah, Mooney Ward, we're absolutely heartbroken for that guy. I hope he could come back soon, but there's no rush. Let him take his time. The 49ers, the youngsters are going to step up and they're going to hold it down until Mooney Ward is able to come back. But yeah, Jake Moody, it's a whole nother story for another day. 49ers Red Zone says, when Debo rushes for 2 yards, Moody should tell him to lock in. We'll see. I'm going to follow this story. Will Jake Moody get in his face? Absolutely not. He would be dominated by Debo if he ever said anything. But, the thing about it is a lot of people, they talk so much trash on Debo Samuel. Like, I don't know. People hate Debo for whatever reason. Like, they trash talk this guy. But, and I get it. Sometimes he's not always making big plays. He's not always making highlight, catches. He's not always scoring touchdowns. He has 2 touchdowns this year. A lot of people have been sharing false information on the timeline because people are slandering Debo. You know me, I'm a Debo guy. If you're going to slander his name, make sure you get it right. He has 2 touchdowns this year. He had a rushing touchdown a couple, in the opener against the Jets. People forget about that one. And he had the big touchdown against the Seattle Seahawks. He hasn't been bad this year. He had 100 yards against Minnesota. He had 100 yards against the Seahawks, almost 100 against, I think it was Dallas. And he missed a few moments, a couple games because of injuries. He had pneumonia, for one thing. He plays through injury. And also when Debo's in there, sometimes he's not supposed to get the ball. He's just there to kind of make the motion and people will key in on him. I was watching some of the film today. Man, there was a couple plays actually, but there's one in particular. I'm going to try to find it, maybe post it this week if I have time. But CMC was out in the area. He had Debo out in the area. I mean, both of the defenders were like key. Like everybody shadowed those 2 guys because they didn't know which one of them were going to get it. And then boom, Jawan Jennings out route against the corner. Easy money. He was wide open. So yes, Debo sometimes doesn't get big plays. Sometimes he runs for 2 yards, but a lot of that is window dressing. A lot of times it's just like, it's just a play to set up a bigger play when Debo gets the ball. Sometimes that's it, but I digress. I'm not going to sit here and defend my boy Debo like I always have to, but it is what it is. I don't blame him for getting mad at Jake Moody. Let's see. Ian Sharp says, I think Ward will be back this week. We face Metcalf. I don't know. Is Metcalf going to play this week? He's been banged up himself, but the bye week probably did him good. I'm sure Mooney Ward would want to play Metcalf, but we'll see how he feels mentally. And it's tough, man. I feel bad for Mooney Ward. I know we all do. My heart breaks for him. I mean, mentally, it's got to be just very, very difficult to focus on anything else right now. And he had the funeral services this weekend, Friday. John Lynch was out there. So I don't know. I want to see Mooney Ward back. We love the guy. He's unbelievable. He's a great person, great player. Like I said, I've talked to him many times and just class act. So I do hope he could come back sooner rather than later. So Christine said, Christine had to clear things up. She says 3 missed field goals. That's BS. I'm not feeling sorry because I thought she said she felt sorry for Jake Moody, not Mooney Ward. I think it was a typo. She's making sure that I know she's not feeling sorry for Jake Moody. He missed 3 field goals. We ain't feeling sorry for Jakey. Oh, Renardo Green got this. I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be back. My man Abel says, Raj, man, I sure missed the good old days of Niner football with Whitner, Golson, Walker, Willis, Bowman. That's some good years, man. Those were fun times. The Harbaugh era was amazing. We got some great times now. I mean, I feel like the vibes these last couple of years have been amazing, but you're right. If you just started to watch Niner football around those years, or once you got a little older, I was really young when the 49ers were winning in the 90s and stuff. I was a young buck, 10 years old when they won the Super Bowl. It was great. But then as I got older, not those 2002, 2013 squads in my 20s, I was like, oh, man, these fun times. You really, for me, I really was able to experience the games, go to the stuff and, just watch so much, and friends and families, we'd be able to travel to the games. And it was amazing times. And Patrick Willis and Gore and all those guys, it was great times, man. And especially because during the early 2000s, the 49ers were just not good. They went through years of just worse than mediocrity. It was years of just pure shit. And then finally, Here comes Harbaugh and all these players that have been, crafted onto the roster, and boom, 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 they went from like nothing to everything. They were the best team in the NFL. It was like, oh my God, it was just a fun ride. I know we all wish they would have won a Super Bowl, just like we all wish they would have won a Super Bowl these last couple of years. But, that's why you love to be a fan of this team, especially after those bad years. When it's bad and then all of a sudden your team's good again, it's like, there we go. That's why you're a fan, because you suffer through those really bad years, and these good years are the payoff. And hopefully they'll pay off with the championship. So we'll see. 8 years of shit, says 49er Red Zone. It was 8 years of shit. You're absolutely right. 0-5, 5-11, 4. It was so 0-4-11. Yeah. Those were some just awful years, Red Zone. They were so, I remember just being depressed. I was in college those years. It was bad times. I was just like, let's go party. Let's go do something misery. I was like, oh, this game is horrible. I just remember seeing just year after year of just poor football play. And I was like, oh my God, something needs to change. I was a sad man back then. Yeah, it was bad times, man. Whew. But so, that's why I'm not too mad these days, because this team has been really good over the last, 7-8 years since, Shanahan has been here. There's been some bad years in between, whatever, injuries, whatever, the COVID year, 2018, Jimmy got, tore the ACL, whatever. But team has been good overall. There's, some slow starts, but they always pick it up, and they made it to NFC championships. They made it to Super Bowl. So it's been fun, but it has been heartbreaking, just like those, 2013 Harbaugh years. So yeah, I like Jeff Garcia. He was good. Those burgundy jerseys were nice. Abel says, you make a good point. We've been through bad years as a Niner fan. I'm glad I stuck to it. Last Super Bowl win, I was 2 years, and I'm glad to be a Niners fan. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. It's sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's tough when you're a fan and you see your team. You want to see your team win, and then you see everybody else having fun when their team wins, and rah, parade, winning championships. You want that as a fan. So it's like you want the best for your team, and it's tough when your team goes through bad years, but you stick with it. Eventually, when your team wins, it's like, man, that's feels so good. That's why you want to be a fan, for those amazing moments. So definitely, sometimes it's very difficult and challenging when they're not good. So we hope they continue to be good. And again, Niners right now, they're 5-4. They're on the way up. They're trending up. Everything looked good, these last couple of weeks in terms of getting wins. They're stacking W's. Now, everything's not looking good in terms of how they're getting them, but they're surviving these games. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to get, is a win. But overall, before we go, let's talk about it real quick. Recap. Special teams needs to get fixed. Absolutely needs to get fixed. Without a doubt, they need to fix the special teams. I don't know what they got to do. Fire the coach? I don't know. Special teams coordinator has not been up to par. We'll see. Run defense needs to improve. It's just not getting the job done. Dre Greenlaw hopefully comes back in a couple of weeks. They're not planning to open up his practice window this week, but when they do, I think that's going to be a huge shot of adrenaline to this team, because they need this man. They need Dre Greenlaw. Run defense has been abysmal, and then pass rush has been non-existent unless your name is Nicholas John Bosa. It's the only guy that's really been getting the job done. Otherwise, it's been sporadic. So those issues need to fix, and they still need to get better in the red zone. Absolutely need to make sure they get red zone efficiency up. I know I thought they'd be a lot better with Christian McCaffrey in the red zone. It wasn't the case, but it was his first game back. They are transitioning, but it's not an excuse. Fix the damn red zone, Kyle. You had the bye week to kind of get things a little bit ironed out. They're not going to win a Super Bowl if you have to rely on kicking field goals. We saw that yesterday. If you are in the playoffs and you're not scoring field goals against the Detroit Lions, they're going to make the 49ers pay. So fix the red zone. That is, to me, the biggest key moving forward. And then special teams, of course. And real quick, let's recap. So today, Kyle Shanahan, on the conference call, he said that George Kittle has hamstring irritation. They're going to kind of keep an eye on him this week and reevaluate him Wednesday. Renardo Green sprained his toe. He's day-to-day. And the punter, Mitch Wishnowsky, you heard his back flared up. It flared up. And now he's going to seek some treatment options. So those are your major injuries updates following Sunday's win against Tampa Bay. The good news is Christian McCaffrey, he's not on the injury report. Deebo Samuel, not on the injury report. So good news overall. I feel like it's a minor set of injuries, nothing major. Let's knock on wood, and let's see if the 49ers can continue to win. Let's see if the Dolphins can do us a favor. Mike McDaniel, Miami Mike, take care of business for us. You guys have a good rest of your night. I love y'all. Go Niners. Stay faithful. Don't lose that faith. Make sure you hit that like button. Love y'all.